Whispers Between Shadows, Table of Contents. Chapter 1, Return to the Past. Amelia returns to her hometown of Willowbrook after years of avoiding it, reconnecting with her mother and old friends. A mysterious journalist, Liam, approaches her with questions about the town's past. Chapter 2, The Secrets of Willowbrook. Amelia learns that Liam is investigating a series of disappearances that have plagued Willowbrook for years. She discovers that her family might be involved in something much darker. Chapter 3, Unearthing the Truth. Amelia and Liam dig deeper into the town's history, uncovering more disturbing truths. Amelia starts to question her family's role in the town's mysteries. Chapter 4, Shadows of the Past. Amelia confronts her mother about the hidden history of their family in Willowbrook. She begins to realize the depth of the secrets her mother has kept from her. Chapter 5, A Hidden Journal. Amelia discovers her mother's journal, which holds cryptic entries about a pact made generations ago. The truth begins to unravel, revealing connections to the mysterious disappearances. Chapter 6, The First Clue. Amelia and Liam continue their investigation, visiting old town archives and interviewing residents. The connection between the disappearances and Amelia's family becomes clearer. Chapter 7, The Unraveling. As they uncover more clues, the mystery deepens. Amelia and Liam's bond grows stronger as they come closer to the truth, but the dangers surrounding them increase. Chapter 8, Beneath the Surface. Amelia learns more about the role her family played in the dark history of Willowbrook. Ben, an old friend, warns her that the town's curse may be far from over. Chapter 9, Old Wounds. Amelia confronts her mother again, and Evelyn admits the truth about the pact made to protect the town. The weight of their family's past begins to sink in. Chapter 10, The Chapel. Amelia and Liam visit the old chapel, the heart of the town's mysterious history. They find an altar that holds the key to breaking the town's curse. Chapter 11, The Old Friend. Ben visits Amelia and reveals that the town's dark legacy is tied to her family's past. He warns her of the cost of uncovering the truth. Chapter 12, Unraveling Threads. Amelia and Liam piece together the final clues, realizing they need to destroy the altar in the chapel to break the curse. They prepare for a final confrontation with the dark force tied to the town. Chapter 13, Breaking Point. Amelia and Liam face the dark forces in the chapel, struggling to break the pact and end the cycle of disappearances. Their lives are on the line as they fight to free Willowbrook from its haunted past. Chapter 14, The Hidden Truth. Evelyn reveals the full extent of the pact and its consequences. Amelia and Liam are drawn into a dangerous final confrontation with the ancient force that has haunted the town for generations. Chapter 15, Into the Abyss. Amelia and Liam fall into the dark depths of Willowbrook's cursed past. They must confront the true source of the town's evil to save themselves and the people they love. Chapter 16, The Depths of Willowbrook. In the heart of the cavern beneath Willowbrook, Amelia and Liam face the ancient dark force that has shaped the town's fate. They must destroy the altar to break the pact once and for all. Chapter 17, The Breaking Point. The final battle to break the town's curse takes place in the cavern beneath Willowbrook. Amelia and Liam must destroy the altar and confront the dark force before it consumes them. Chapter 18, The Hidden Truth. Amelia and Liam face the aftermath of their confrontation with the dark force. They begin to rebuild Willowbrook and their own lives, free from the curse that has haunted them for so long. Chapter 19, A New Beginning. The curse is broken, and Willowbrook begins to heal. Amelia and Liam look toward the future together, ready to embrace a new beginning and face whatever challenges come next. Chapter 1, Return to the Past. The sound of the waves crashing against the rocks outside Amelia Sinclair's childhood home greeted her as she stepped out of the car. The salty breeze, the sound of gulls calling overhead, It all felt familiar, yet foreign at the same time. It had been 5 years since she'd left the small seaside town of Willowbrook, a town she'd sworn never to return to. Amelia's eyes lingered on the faded white picket fence and the small stone path leading up to her mother's bookstore. The quaint little shop stood as it always had, untouched by time. Her mother, Evelyn, had never been one for change. She hesitated for a moment before grabbing her bag and heading toward the door. Amelia hadn't spoken to her mother in over a year, not since the fallout with her ex-fiancé, Ethan. Her mother had always been an enigma to her, distant and secretive, but loving in her own quiet way. Amelia had hoped time apart would help her heal, but it seemed she'd never truly moved on. With a soft sigh, she knocked on the door. Evelyn opened it with a warm smile, though there was something in her eyes that suggested she was hiding something. "Amelia, sweetheart, it's so good to see you." Amelia forced a smile, stepping inside. "I didn't expect a grand welcome, Mom." "I'm glad you're here," Evelyn said, leading her into the cozy interior of the bookstore. The faint smell of aged paper and fresh coffee lingered in the air, a scent that had always felt like home. "You've been gone for so long, I thought I might never see you again." Amelia sat down on the couch by the window, the same spot she used to sit in when she was younger, reading for hours on end. "I needed time away. The city was overwhelming." Evelyn nodded, but her smile faltered slightly. "You can stay as long as you need to." Just then, the bell above the door chimed, signaling someone's arrival. Amelia looked up to see a man walk in. He had a rugged charm about him, dressed casually in a worn leather jacket and dark jeans. His hair was a bit too long, slightly tousled, and his eyes, the color of deep green forests, immediately locked with hers. "Amelia Sinclair?" he asked, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his lips. Amelia blinked, unsure if she was imagining things. "Yes, that's me." "I'm Liam Bennett," he said, extending a hand. "I'm a journalist with the Willowbrook Gazette. I'm working on a story about the disappearances that have been happening around here for the past few years. Do you have a few minutes to talk?" Evelyn glanced nervously between the two of them before offering a tight smile. "Amelia doesn't really like to talk about the past. It's complicated." Liam raised an eyebrow but didn't push further. "I understand. I just thought you might be able to shed some light on a few things that have been puzzling me." Amelia's heart skipped a beat. Disappearances? She'd heard the rumors over the years, strange things happening in Willowbrook, but she never thought it would be tied to her. Chapter 2. The Secrets of Willowbrook. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The town of Willowbrook had always been a peaceful place, until recently, that is. The disappearances were the talk of the town, but most people swept them under the rug, pretending nothing was wrong. It was easier to do that than face the truth. As she sat at her mother's kitchen table, sipping on a cup of chamomile tea, Evelyn broke the silence. "You shouldn't get involved in this, Amelia. There are things about this town you don't understand." Amelia's brow furrowed. "I think I deserve to know the truth. The town is changing, and I need to understand why." Evelyn's eyes softened, but her voice grew heavy with warning. "Some things are better left buried. I'm not a child anymore, Mom. I can handle the truth." Evelyn stood up from the table, her face pale. "There are secrets here, Amelia. You're not ready to hear them." Amelia's mind raced. What secrets? Was her mother hiding something? Was she involved in the disappearances? But Amelia's questions would have to wait. The sound of footsteps outside caught her attention. A figure was walking past the house, a familiar silhouette. Amelia stood up, walking toward the window. It was Liam. He was heading in the direction of the old town hall, where most of the strange disappearances had occurred. Chapter 3. Unearthing the Truth. The next morning, Amelia couldn't stop thinking about Liam's request to help him with his investigation. Despite her reservations, there was something about the mystery that called to her. She couldn't ignore the feeling that the past was reaching out to her, pulling her back to Willowbrook, and she needed to face it. After finishing her morning coffee, Amelia headed into town, her eyes scanning the familiar streets. The bookstore was quiet, and her mother was nowhere to be found. Amelia had hoped to talk to her more, but it seemed like Evelyn was avoiding her again. Amelia walked down the main street, glancing at the small shops that lined the roads. As she passed by the old post office, she saw Liam sitting on a bench, a notepad in hand. He looked up when he saw her, offering a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I'm glad you came," he said, standing up. "I've been thinking about it," Amelia replied, feeling a strange mix of excitement and fear. "I don't know why, but I feel like I should help you." Liam's expression softened. "This town holds a lot of secrets, your family especially, and I think your mother knows more than she's letting on." Amelia hesitated. "What are you suggesting?" Liam leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "I believe the disappearances are connected to something from years ago. Your mother was involved, or at least knows who was." Amelia's heart pounded in her chest. Could her mother really be involved? Or was she just trying to protect Amelia from something much darker? There was only one way to find out, and that was to confront the past. Chapter 4. Shadows of the Past. Amelia's mind raced as she walked alongside Liam, trying to process everything he had just said. Her mother? Involved in something dark? It didn't make sense. Evelyn had always been there for her, no matter what. But the truth was, Amelia had never fully understood the history of her family or the town. Her mother had always been tight-lipped about the past, but she never imagined it was to this extent. "Where do we start?" Amelia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam's eyes met hers, his expression more serious than she had ever seen it. "I think the first step is to talk to the people who were here when the first disappearance happened, the ones who've lived in Willowbrook their entire lives." Amelia nodded, though a chill ran down her spine. The first disappearance? She had heard the rumors growing up, of course, whispers about strange occurrences, eerie disappearances, and people leaving the town without a trace, but no one ever spoke about it openly. It was as if the town had collectively decided to pretend the past didn't exist. "Do you know anyone who might talk?" Liam continued, his voice steady but tinged with the urgency of their mission. "I think I can get my mother's old journal," Amelia said, her thoughts turning to the dusty shelves in the back of the bookstore. She had once seen Evelyn flip through it, but it had always been off-limits. "It could have some answers, or at least lead us to someone who knows more." Liam smiled, a rare look of encouragement. "I knew you'd come through." Chapter 5. A Hidden Journal. That afternoon, Amelia ventured into the back of her mother's bookstore. The space was filled with rows of old, worn books that had been gathering dust for years. Amelia moved carefully, trying not to disturb anything too much. She knew her mother kept journals, but she had never once asked about them, out of respect for Evelyn's privacy. She eventually found the leather-bound journal tucked away on the highest shelf, hidden among the back corners of the shop. It was an old, weathered book, its pages yellowed with age, and it felt heavier than she expected. Taking a deep breath, Amelia opened it to the first page. The writing inside was unmistakably her mother's, neat and precise, but the words on the page sent a cold shiver through her. August 5th, 1987. I don't know how much longer I can keep this secret. Amelia deserves to know, but how can I tell her about the things I've buried so deep? The disappearances are just the beginning. The town has its share of dark secrets, but they run deeper than anyone could imagine. I've kept quiet for her sake, but now I wonder if it's all catching up to us. The entry ended abruptly, and Amelia's heart hammered in her chest. Disappearances, dark secrets. Her mother had written this over 20 years ago, but the message was clear. This had been going on for much longer than Amelia had known. She turned the page, desperate to find more answers. August 12th, 1987. Liam Bennett is coming to Willowbrook. He's asking too many questions. I can't trust him, but I can't avoid him either. The past won't stay buried forever. Amelia's breath caught. Liam Bennett. Her heart sank as she realized that the Liam who was currently working with her on the investigation was connected to something much older and more complicated than she had anticipated. This wasn't just a random journalist looking for a story. He was tied to the mystery in a way she hadn't imagined. Chapter 6. The First Clue. Amelia closed the journal, her hands trembling. Her mind whirled with the implications of what she had just read. What was her mother hiding? Why had she never told Amelia about this? As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the bookstore, Amelia made her way back to the front. She needed to speak to Liam, now more than ever. Her mother's journal might not have given her all the answers, but it had confirmed something she couldn't ignore. The past wasn't just buried. It was alive, and it was coming for her. When she stepped outside, she found Liam waiting by the bookstore's entrance, his back to her. He had a familiar, guarded expression, as though he was deep in thought. "You were right," Amelia said, walking toward him. "My mother knew about the disappearances. She even mentioned you in her journal." Liam turned to face her, his eyebrows furrowing in surprise. "She mentioned me?" Amelia nodded, handing him the journal. "I don't know everything yet, but there's something here that connects you to this town's history, something my mother was trying to protect me from." Liam took the journal carefully, flipping through the pages, his expression unreadable. When he reached the passage about him, his lips tightened. "This isn't what I expected, but it makes sense. My family, we've been in Willowbrook for generations. There's a reason I'm here, and it's not just for the story." Amelia's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Liam paused, lowering the journal. His green eyes locked with hers, and for a moment, Amelia could see the same confusion and hurt reflected in them that she felt inside. "I'm here because my family was involved in the original disappearances," Liam said quietly. "And I think it has everything to do with what's happening now." Chapter 7. The Unraveling. The weight of Liam's words hung heavily in the air. Amelia had always believed that Willowbrook's secrets were buried deep beneath the surface, but now she realized they ran through the town's very veins. The disappearances weren't just random. They were tied to families, to legacies that stretched back for decades. "I don't know what my mother was protecting me from," Amelia said, her voice trembling with both anger and fear. "But I need to find out. We need to find out." Liam nodded slowly, his gaze unwavering. "Then we do this together. No more hiding from the truth." The decision was made. The mystery of Willowbrook had gone from something vague and distant to something personal and immediate. Amelia knew that the closer she got to the truth, the more it would cost her. But there was no turning back. Chapter 8. Beneath the Surface. The following morning, Amelia couldn't shake the conversation she'd had with Liam. Her mind replayed his words over and over. "My family was involved in the original disappearances." Those words felt like a dark cloud hovering over her, a constant reminder of how deeply rooted the mystery was in both their lives. As much as she tried to rationalize it, she couldn't help but feel as though she was walking into something far darker than she'd ever expected. She arrived at Liam's small office by the Willowbrook Gazette later that morning, determined to continue their search for answers. The room was cluttered with files, newspaper clippings, and old maps of the town, things that had been carefully archived and cataloged over the years. "Do you think we're ready for this?" she asked, glancing around the room. Her voice betrayed her uncertainty. "It feels like we're opening a door that might be better left closed." Liam, seated behind his cluttered desk, looked up at her with a seriousness in his eyes. "There's no turning back now, Amelia. The more we learn, the clearer it becomes. We need to understand the full scope of what's happening, and why it's happening again." Amelia nodded, steeling herself for what was to come. She sat down opposite him, and together they began to sift through the files. The disappearance of the first town resident, a local woman named Clara Hayes, was the most significant event in the town's history, dating back over 3 decades ago. According to the reports, she had vanished without a trace one summer evening, just like the others had years later. One particular piece of evidence caught Amelia's eye, a faded photograph pinned to one of the boards on the wall. It was a group photo of people standing in front of the town hall, their faces smiling and happy. Liam's family was in this photo, but so was her mother, Evelyn. Her eyes widened as she studied it closely. Evelyn, much younger in this picture, had been much more connected to the town than Amelia had realized. "Look at this," Amelia said, holding up the photo for Liam to see. "This is my mother." Liam leaned over, his brow furrowing as he examined the photograph. "That's strange. I didn't realize she was part of the town's history like this." His fingers brushed over the photo before his gaze shifted to Amelia. She must have known more than she's letting on. "Why would she keep it a secret?" Amelia whispered, her voice barely audible. "And why didn't she tell me about any of this?" Liam remained silent for a moment, contemplating her question. "Maybe because it's not something that can be easily explained. Some things are easier to forget than face. But we can't ignore the fact that your mother is linked to this mystery, and I'm starting to think her silence isn't just out of protection, it's because she's hiding something big." Amelia swallowed hard. She had always trusted her mother, but what if she was keeping secrets that would change everything? What if the life she thought she knew was a lie? Chapter 9. Old Wounds. Later that afternoon, Amelia decided to confront her mother. The heavy weight of her findings had left her with little choice but to face the truth. Her heart ached as she approached the bookstore, the same familiar scent of books and old wood filling her senses. She hesitated outside for a moment before pushing the door open. Evelyn was behind the counter, flipping through a ledger. She didn't look up as Amelia entered, but Amelia could sense the tension in the air. "Mom," Amelia began, her voice soft yet firm. "We need to talk." Evelyn froze, her hand lingering over the page in the ledger. Without turning around, she sighed. "I've been waiting for you to ask, but I didn't think it would come this soon." Amelia's pulse quickened. "I found the journal. I know you're hiding something about the disappearances. Why didn't you tell me?" Evelyn slowly closed the ledger and turned to face her, her face pale and tired. "I wanted to protect you, Amelia. The town has been through enough. I thought if I kept you away from it, you'd be safe. But you didn't protect me. You kept me in the dark. You kept me away from the truth." Amelia's voice trembled with frustration. "Mom, how can I understand anything about this town or you if you won't be honest with me?" Evelyn's eyes filled with sorrow, and she reached out to touch Amelia's arm. "You don't understand. The disappearances, the people involved. It's not just about the town. It's about the families." "Your family. My family. Things were done long before you were born, and they're coming back to haunt us. I didn't want you to be part of it." Amelia pulled away, feeling the sting of betrayal. "You should have told me the truth. I could have handled it. We could have faced it together." "I didn't know if we could face it," Evelyn whispered. "I didn't know if I could face it." There was a long, painful silence between them before Evelyn spoke again. "If you're going to go any further, you need to understand the cost. Some truths are meant to stay buried. The closer you get, the more you'll lose." Amelia's mind raced. The cost? What did that mean? She had already decided she would uncover the truth, no matter the consequences, but Evelyn's words lingered in her mind. "I have to know, Mom. I have to know what happened." Amelia's voice was steady now, her resolve clear. "It's the only way to stop it from happening again." Evelyn lowered her gaze, a single tear slipping down her cheek. "Then I can't protect you anymore, Amelia. You're on your own now." Chapter 10. The Ties That Bind. That night, Amelia sat alone at the table in her mother's kitchen, the silence around her deafening. Liam's words echoed in her mind. "You're not ready to hear it. The town has its secrets, and so does your family." What if her mother was right? What if the truth was more than Amelia could handle? But she couldn't go back now, not when everything she thought she knew about Willowbrook and about her own family was unraveling before her eyes. The clock on the wall ticked slowly, each second stretching longer than the last. Amelia's mind was in turmoil, but she knew one thing for certain. She had to face whatever came next. As she stood up, ready to return to Liam, a knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Startled, she walked over to open it, her heart racing with anticipation. When she saw who was standing on the other side, her breath caught in her throat. It was Ben Carter, the local bar owner, and Amelia's childhood friend. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice low and urgent. Amelia's pulse quickened. She hadn't seen Ben in months, but something about his demeanor told her this conversation was about to take a dark turn. Chapter 11. The Old Friend. Ben Carter stood on the doorstep, his face tense, a stark contrast to the easygoing, friendly demeanor he'd always had when they were younger. His dark hair was unkempt, and there was a shadow in his eyes, as though he hadn't slept in days. Amelia stepped aside, gesturing for him to come in. "Ben, what's going on? You look worried." Ben hesitated before stepping over the threshold, his boots scraping against the wooden floor. He closed the door behind him and turned to face her, his expression serious. "I've been hearing things," Ben said quietly. His voice held a weight, one that made Amelia's heart race with concern. "People are talking again, about the disappearances, about your family, your mother. She's not the only one hiding things, Amelia." Amelia swallowed, feeling the familiar tension rise in her chest. "What do you mean? What's happening?" Ben walked over to the small dining table and sat down. He ran a hand through his hair, looking weary. "The rumors are getting worse. People are starting to connect the dots. They're saying that whatever happened to Clara Hayes 30 years ago, it's happening again." Amelia's stomach twisted. Clara Hayes was the first woman to disappear. The town had never fully recovered from the shock of it. But Ben was implying that the same thing might be happening again, right under their noses. "Why are you telling me this now?" she asked, feeling the urgency in his voice. Ben looked up at her, his eyes dark and filled with something she couldn't quite identify. Fear, maybe? "Because it's your family, Amelia. They've been involved in all of this. Your mother, your grandmother, and now, I think you're next." The words hit her like a punch to the gut. Her breath caught in her throat, and she stumbled back a step, her mind racing. "I don't understand," Amelia said, shaking her head. "My mother would never hurt anyone. She's been keeping secrets, but she's not involved in this, not like you're saying." Ben's jaw clenched, and he looked away, clearly struggling with something. "I'm not saying your mother is hurting people, but she's part of a much bigger picture. A story that's been buried for decades, and it's all starting to resurface now. The truth is coming out." Amelia's thoughts spun. She had already uncovered so much about the disappearances, but this new revelation about her family left her reeling. What was Ben not telling her? What had her mother been hiding? "Ben, what do you know?" Amelia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He met her gaze, his expression tight. "I know more than I should, and I don't want you to get involved, but I can't sit back and let you be caught up in this, not when I care about you." Amelia's heart pounded. Care about me? The word struck her like a lightning bolt. Ben had been her best friend growing up, and while she'd always known he cared for her, she had never considered the depth of his feelings. Not until now. "I don't have a choice," Amelia said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I've already started digging. I can't stop now." Ben sighed, standing up to walk over to the window. He stared out into the quiet town, as if searching for answers. "I know, but don't say I didn't warn you." Amelia felt a surge of anger mixed with fear. She had always trusted Ben, but now he was telling her to stay away. Could he be right? Could her involvement make things worse? The stakes were so much higher than she had ever imagined. "I'm going to finish this," she said firmly, her voice unwavering. "And I'm going to find out what happened, no matter the cost." Ben turned to look at her, a mixture of admiration and sorrow in his eyes. "I hope you're ready for what's coming, Amelia. Because once the truth comes out, you can't take it back." Chapter 12. Unraveling Threads. That evening, Amelia met Liam at the local diner, her mind still reeling from the conversation with Ben. She had hoped that talking to Ben would give her some clarity, but it only left her with more questions. The pressure to uncover the truth weighed heavily on her, but she knew she couldn't do it alone. Liam was already sitting at a booth when she arrived, his laptop open in front of him. He looked up as she slid into the seat across from him, his expression softening when he saw the look on her face. "You okay?" he asked gently, his voice filled with concern. Amelia nodded, though her heart felt like it was beating faster than it should. "Ben came by my mom's place today. He warned me. He said that whatever's happening now has something to do with my family, that they're involved in all of this." Liam's brow furrowed. "That's not surprising. Your mother has always been part of the town's history, whether she wants to admit it or not." "I don't know how to feel about any of this," Amelia admitted, her voice shaky. "I thought I knew my family, but now I'm not sure. Ben said I was next. What does that even mean?" Liam leaned forward, closing his laptop and giving her his full attention. "I think it means we're getting closer, Amelia, and I think you need to talk to your mother again. The pieces are starting to fit, but we're still missing something important. If you really want answers, you're going to have to push her. I know it's hard, but she's the key." Amelia's fingers curled into fists on the table. "I don't know if I can trust her anymore. Every time I think I'm close to understanding, something new comes up. It feels like I'm being pulled in a million different directions." Liam's gaze softened as he reached out, his hand gently covering hers. "I know this is tough, but you're not alone in this. We'll figure it out. Together." Amelia felt a warmth spread through her chest at his touch. For a moment, everything else faded. The mystery, the fear, the unanswered questions. All that mattered was that she wasn't alone. Liam was here, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she could trust someone completely. "Thank you," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Liam smiled, his eyes reflecting something deeper than just friendship. "You'll never have to find out." Chapter 13. Breaking Point. The next day, Amelia decided to confront her mother again. She couldn't keep hiding from the truth, no matter how painful it was. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together, but Evelyn was still the missing piece, the one who held the key to everything. She found her mother in the bookstore, as usual, shelving a new shipment of books. There was an air of tension between them, and Evelyn didn't look up when Amelia entered. "Mom," Amelia said quietly, her voice filled with determination. "I need you to tell me everything. No more secrets. I can't keep pretending like everything's fine." Evelyn paused, her hand hovering over a book as she slowly turned to face her daughter. "Amelia, I don't want to hurt you." "But you are, Mom," Amelia replied, her voice cracking. "I can't keep living like this, not knowing what's going on. I need the truth." Evelyn took a deep breath, her eyes filled with sorrow. She set the book down gently and walked over to Amelia. For the first time, she seemed to let her guard down completely. "I never wanted you to know about this," Evelyn said, her voice low and steady. "But I see now that there's no way to protect you from the past. You're right, I've kept secrets, but I did it because I loved you." Amelia's heart raced as her mother began to speak, the truth slowly beginning to surface. Chapter 14. The Hidden Truth. Amelia stood in front of her mother, her heart pounding as she waited for Evelyn to speak. The silence between them felt unbearable, like the weight of years of unspoken secrets hung in the air, suffocating them both. Evelyn's eyes were filled with a sadness Amelia had never seen before. She seemed to hesitate for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully, then finally spoke, her voice low and fragile. "I never wanted you to carry this burden, Amelia," Evelyn said, her eyes not meeting her daughter's. "But I see now that I've made a terrible mistake. I thought I could protect you from the truth, but the truth is, the past never stays buried. It always finds a way to come back." Amelia's chest tightened. "What are you talking about, Mom? What past? What's been going on all these years?" Evelyn exhaled slowly, as though the weight of the confession she was about to make was too much to bear. "It's not just about the disappearances, Amelia. It's about the families, our families. It's about a pact that was made years ago, something that tied our fates together in ways that we never could have anticipated." Amelia's head spun. A pact? What could Evelyn possibly mean? The disappearances, the family secrets, it was all starting to feel like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. "The first disappearance," Evelyn continued, her voice trembling. "Clara Hayes. She was the daughter of a man who was deeply involved in something dark, something that this town has tried to forget. But I couldn't forget. I couldn't let you be a part of it, so I kept you away from everything. I thought I could shield you from the truth." "Clara's father?" Amelia asked, her mind racing. She had always known that Clara Hayes had vanished under mysterious circumstances, but the connections her mother was revealing were beyond anything she had imagined. "What did he have to do with it?" Evelyn closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. When she opened them again, there was a haunted look in her gaze. "Your grandmother was part of a group that made a decision that would affect generations to come. They believed that to protect the town, they had to sacrifice certain things, certain people. They didn't realize what they were unleashing, but it was too late by the time they understood." The air felt thick, and Amelia could hardly breathe. A sense of dread crept over her. "A sacrifice? My grandmother?" Evelyn nodded, her face pale. "Yes. The pact was made to keep the town safe from something dark, something ancient, and every few years it demands a new offering. Clara was just the beginning." Amelia's knees felt weak, and she had to steady herself against the counter. "And now it's asking for more. For me." Evelyn's face crumpled with regret. "I don't know if you're the one it's after, Amelia, but I do know that you're caught in the middle of something bigger than either of us could have imagined. The disappearances have never truly stopped, and I fear, if we don't end it now, it will continue, and it might take someone we both love." Amelia's mind was reeling. She had always thought of Willowbrook as a quaint, peaceful town, full of memories and safety, but now it was clear. There was a darkness lurking beneath the surface, one that her family had been tied to for generations. "I don't know what to do," Amelia whispered, feeling lost. "How do we stop it?" Evelyn's eyes met hers, filled with a mixture of fear and resignation. "You need to go to the place where it all began, the old chapel. It's there that the truth lies. But be careful, Amelia. The closer you get to it, the more dangerous it becomes. The town isn't what it seems." Chapter 15. The Chapel. Amelia barely slept that night, the weight of her mother's confession lingering in her mind. The next morning she called Liam. He was already investigating the chapel, trying to dig up more information. He was the only person who could help her now. When they met later that day, Amelia could see the exhaustion in Liam's eyes. He looked as if he hadn't slept either, consumed by the same restless search for answers. "We have to go to the chapel," she told him, her voice low but firm. "It's the only way we'll find the truth." Liam nodded, his expression grave. "I figured as much. It's always been tied to the disappearances. But Amelia, whatever's there, it's not just a story. It's real. We've got to be prepared." "I know," Amelia replied, her heart pounding. "I have to do this. It's the only way I'll understand what's happening." They drove together in silence, the landscape around them growing more desolate as they neared the outskirts of town. The chapel stood on a hill, isolated and decaying, surrounded by overgrown trees and brambles. The air was thick with an eerie stillness as they approached. Amelia's breath caught in her throat as they reached the chapel's entrance. The heavy wooden doors creaked as she pushed them open, the darkness inside swallowing them whole. The faint smell of mildew and old wood filled the air, but there was something else, something metallic, like blood. Liam lit a flashlight and they stepped inside. The chapel's interior was covered in dust, but the stained glass windows still held an eerie beauty, casting colorful light across the stone floor. There was an altar at the far end, and beneath it, something gleamed, a hidden symbol Amelia recognized from her mother's journal. The symbol was linked to the pact her family had made all those years ago. "What is this?" Amelia whispered, her voice trembling. Liam's flashlight swept across the room, landing on an old weathered book. It was open, as if someone had just been reading it. "I think we're about to find out," Liam said softly. Amelia stepped forward, her hand reaching out to touch the pages. As her fingers brushed the book's surface, a chill ran down her spine. This was it, the heart of the mystery. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the chapel, a low, rumbling sound that seemed to come from deep within the earth itself. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and Amelia's breath caught in her throat. "Amelia!" Liam shouted, grabbing her arm. "We need to get out of here, now!" But it was too late. The floor beneath them cracked open, and they both stumbled backward, nearly falling into the abyss that had opened before them. The darkness below seemed to pull them in, as if the chapel itself was alive, hungry for the past to be uncovered. Chapter 16. Into the Abyss. Amelia's heart raced as the ground beneath her feet trembled violently, a deep rumbling filling the air. The cracks in the chapel floor seemed to widen, revealing a dark, yawning abyss that stretched far beneath the building. Her mind screamed at her to run, but her feet were frozen, caught in a trance by the overwhelming sense of dread. Liam yanked her back with a strength that startled her, his grip tight on her arm. "Amelia, move!" The ground buckled again with a deafening crack, and Amelia staggered backward, just barely avoiding the widening chasm. She and Liam scrambled toward the exit, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous chapel, the only light coming from the flickering beam of Liam's flashlight. "We can't stay here!" Amelia shouted, panic rising in her chest. Liam didn't respond. He was already ahead of her, sprinting toward the door. But as Amelia turned to follow him, she felt a cold draft rush past her, and the temperature inside the chapel seemed to drop even further. The shadows in the corners of the room deepened, swirling like something alive, hungry for something or someone. "Liam!" she cried, her voice filled with desperation. But the words caught in her throat as she heard a low whisper in the air, faint but unmistakable. "Leave now, before it's too late." Amelia spun around, but there was no one there. The whispering seemed to come from the very walls, the floor, the air itself. Her breath came out in shallow gasps as she tried to steady herself, but the ground beneath her continued to quake. "Amelia, don't look back!" Liam shouted, his voice cracking. "We need to get out, now!" Without thinking, Amelia followed him, racing toward the exit. As they neared the door, the chapel's walls seemed to groan, as though they were alive and protesting their departure. The floor beneath their feet buckled again, and the door slammed shut with an echoing bang. They both collided with the door, trying to push it open, but it refused to budge. Amelia's panic surged as she pressed her hands against the cold wood, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. "Why won't it open?" she cried, slamming her fists against the door. Liam reached for her arm, his grip firm. "It's not the door that's keeping us in. It's something else." Amelia felt a surge of terror. "What are you talking about?" Liam's face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. "The town, the chapel. It's tied to Willowbrook's curse, and now that we've found it, we've awakened it. It won't let us leave until it gets what it wants." What does it want? Amelia asked, her voice trembling with the weight of the question. Liam's eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw the fear in them. You, or at least someone like you. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder, louder than before, until they seemed to fill the entire chapel. The voices were indistinguishable from one another, overlapping, as if hundreds of people were speaking at once. You're too late. It's begun. The pact must be fulfilled. The words made Amelia's blood run cold. The pact. Amelia's thoughts raced as the realization hit her like a punch to the gut. The pact her family had made. The sacrifices, the offerings, each generation bound by the same dark force. The disappearances, the blood that had been spilled. We have to stop it, Amelia whispered, her mind working overtime to understand what was happening. But how? Liam grabbed her hand, his grip tight and unyielding. We need to break the cycle. The chapel, the symbol. It's all tied to the ritual. If we can destroy it, we might be able to stop the curse. Amelia nodded, but fear still clung to her like a shadow. Destroy it? How could they destroy something so ancient, so deeply rooted in the town's history? But before they could make another move, the ground beneath their feet gave way, and with a jolt, they both fell into the abyss below. Chapter 17. The Depths of Willowbrook. The fall seemed to stretch on for an eternity. Amelia's body was weightless as the darkness swallowed her whole. She had no sense of time, no understanding of where she was, only the deafening roar of wind and the sensation of plummeting into an endless void. Then, with a sickening thud, her body hit the ground. Pain shot through her, but it was brief, fading into an overwhelming sense of numbness. For a moment, everything was silent. Amelia groaned, blinking against the darkness. She tried to sit up but felt disoriented, her head spinning. The cold ground beneath her was rough, uneven. Slowly, she managed to push herself up, her hand reaching out to steady herself. "Liam?" she called hoarsely, her voice echoing in the dark. She heard a faint groan in the distance, and then Liam's voice, weak but steady. "I'm here, Amelia." She turned toward him, her heart racing. His figure slowly emerged from the shadows, his face bruised but otherwise intact. His hand was outstretched to her, and without thinking, she grabbed it, pulling herself up. "What is this place?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Liam surveyed their surroundings, his eyes narrowing. "I don't know. But I think this is where the pact began. The heart of it." Amelia's gaze followed his, and her breath caught in her throat. The space they were in was vast, an underground cavern stretching far into the darkness. In the center of the cavern was a stone altar, worn and cracked with age, but unmistakable. A deep, unnatural energy pulsed from it, and Amelia could feel it in her bones, like a dark force reaching for her, trying to pull her in. "This is it," Liam said, his voice trembling. "This is where it all started." Amelia's mind reeled. "What do we do now?" "We destroy it," Liam said, his voice low and determined. "We break the cycle." But before they could make a move, the air shifted. The temperature dropped, and the shadows around them seemed to come alive, twisting and writhing in the darkness. The whispers from before returned, louder than ever. "You cannot escape. The blood must be spilled. The pact will be fulfilled." The cavern seemed to grow darker still, and the altar glowed with a malevolent energy. The walls around them seemed to pulse, alive with the weight of something ancient. Amelia felt a chill run down her spine. It was as if the very ground beneath her feet was rejecting them, fighting back. "We have to do this now, Liam," Amelia said, her voice shaking but resolute. Liam nodded, determination flooding his eyes. He stepped forward, pulling a small object from his pocket, a stone pendant. Amelia recognized it instantly. It was the same symbol from the journal, the same symbol that had haunted her dreams and her mother's secrets. Liam held it up toward the altar, and for a moment the cavern fell silent. Then, with a loud crack, the earth trembled once more. Chapter 18. The Breaking Point. The stone pendant glowed with an eerie light, the same symbol that had haunted Amelia's every step. Her heart hammered in her chest as Liam stood at the altar, the pendant raised high, its faint glow illuminating the darkness around them. The air was thick with anticipation, thick with something else, too. An overwhelming, malevolent presence. The chapel, the town, the very earth beneath them. It was alive, and it didn't want them here. You cannot undo what's been done. The voices filled the cavern once again, louder now, their whispers weaving together into one unified chorus, their anger palpable. Amelia felt it deep in her chest, like a cold, suffocating pressure. Her fingers tightened around Liam's, her breath shallow. "Liam," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "what happens if we fail?" Liam didn't look at her. His eyes were fixed on the altar, the pendant trembling in his hand. "We won't fail. We can't." But the doubt in his voice was unmistakable. As the light from the pendant flickered and swirled, the air seemed to crackle with dark energy. The cavern trembled, and the shadows around them seemed to stretch toward them, swirling like a storm ready to engulf them whole. The altar suddenly pulsed, and the ground beneath their feet shook violently. The voices, no longer whispers but guttural growls, reached a crescendo. The pact must be fulfilled. Amelia felt a chill crawl up her spine as the earth trembled even more violently. The cavern's walls began to shift, and Amelia saw something she had not noticed before, figures standing at the edges of the cavern. They were cloaked in darkness, barely discernible from the shadows, but their presence was unmistakable. Spectral, ghostly figures, their hollow eyes staring back at her. "They're watching us," Amelia whispered, her voice trembling with fear. Liam's grip on her hand tightened. "They are the ones who made the pact. They're the ones we need to stop." Suddenly, the figure in the center of the cavern, the one cloaked in the deepest shadows, moved. It stepped forward, its form materializing out of the darkness like a wraith. Its presence was oppressive, as if the air itself was bowing under its weight. Amelia's heart stopped as the figure raised its head. Its eyes gleamed with a predatory hunger, dark and ancient. It was the first time Amelia felt that this wasn't just a matter of uncovering the town's past. It was a battle for her life, for Liam's life, and for the souls of everyone who had been caught in the cycle. "You dare to break the pact?" the figure spoke, its voice a rasping, almost otherworldly growl. "The price has already been paid." Liam took a step forward, his voice steady despite the terror he felt. "We won't let it continue. This town, this curse, it ends here." The figure laughed, a low, cruel sound that reverberated through the cavern. "You think you can stop it? You are bound to this place. The pact was made long before you were born, and now it's time for you to fulfill your role, just like the others before you." Amelia's heart raced as the figure's words sank in. Her role? What did it mean? Was she part of the pact, just as her mother had been? Was she destined to be the next offering to whatever dark force haunted Willowbrook? "No," Amelia whispered, shaking her head. "I won't let you take anyone else. This ends now." With a surge of determination, she reached out, her fingers touching the pendant Liam held. The moment her skin made contact with the stone, a shock of energy shot through her, and the world around her seemed to bend and twist. The pendant's light grew brighter, and the cavern's shadows screamed in agony. Liam's voice cut through the chaos. "Amelia, do it! Now!" But before Amelia could act, the figure's hand shot out, and the air thickened, pressing down on them like a physical force. The ground beneath their feet cracked open, and an unseen force tried to pull them both toward the altar, toward the waiting darkness. The whispers, the growls, the relentless pressure, it all came crashing down at once. Amelia gasped, struggling to keep her footing. "Liam! Help!" Liam's hand never left hers. He pulled her toward him with all his strength. "Together," he said. "We do this together." He grabbed the pendant, his fingers wrapping around hers, and with a desperate, collective force, they pressed it against the altar. The stone beneath them seemed to roar to life, the ancient energy erupting in a shockwave that sent them both stumbling back. The ground beneath them cracked open, a blinding light illuminating the cavern in a blinding flash. And then, nothing. The light, the whispers, the shadows, all vanished in an instant, leaving nothing but an eerie silence. Amelia blinked, her vision blurred by the intensity of the light. Slowly, the world came back into focus. The altar was gone. The figures had disappeared. The cavern had returned to stillness, as if nothing had ever happened. But something had changed. Liam's hand was still holding hers, but he looked just as shaken as she felt. Did we do it? Amelia's breath was shallow, her heart pounding in her chest as she glanced around the cavern. There were no more whispers, no more figures. It felt different, lighter. "I think we did," she whispered, but the weight of their actions still lingered in the air. The feeling of something dark, something ancient, had been lifted. The curse that had haunted Willowbrook for generations had finally been broken. But at what cost? Chapter 19. A New Beginning. They stood there for a long moment, the quiet of the cavern overwhelming them after the storm of emotions, the dark energy, the sacrifice. The silence felt almost sacred. "We did it," Amelia said again, this time with more conviction. "It's over." Liam's expression softened, the tension in his features melting away. He gave her a small, tired smile, relief flooding his eyes. "We stopped it. Together." Amelia nodded, but as she looked at him, she realized how much the journey had changed her, how much it had changed them both. The weight of the town's dark history had been lifted, but their bond, what they had gone through together, had changed them irrevocably. She wasn't the same woman who had stepped foot into this town a few weeks ago, and neither was Liam. Her heart swelled with something that had been building between them, something that wasn't just about solving the mystery or surviving the danger. It was the quiet understanding, the trust they had shared in the face of overwhelming darkness. "You know," Amelia said softly, "I never thought I'd find someone who would understand all of this, someone who would be with me through it all." Liam stepped closer, his hand gently brushing hers. "I think we've always understood each other, even before this. The difference now is that we've faced it all, and we're still standing." Amelia smiled, a warm sense of peace settling over her. The town, the curse, the mystery. It was behind them. There was only forward now. "I don't know what comes next, Liam," she said, her voice filled with a newfound clarity. "But I know I want to face it with you." Liam's eyes softened, and he took her hand in his. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." As they stood together in the silence of the chapel, the weight of their shared experiences finally began to lift. The town of Willowbrook, forever haunted by its dark past, was finally free, and so were they. Epilogue. New Beginnings. The weeks following the destruction of the Pact were a blur of quiet moments and healing. Amelia and Liam had become somewhat of a local legend in Willowbrook. They had saved the town, and the people who had once whispered in fear now spoke of them with a newfound respect and admiration. But despite the peace that had settled over the town, the weight of everything they had uncovered lingered in the air. Willowbrook was no longer haunted by the ghosts of its past, but it still carried the scars, memories that would fade in time, but never completely disappear. Amelia stood on the porch of her mother's bookstore one early morning, the sun just beginning to rise over the horizon. The town, now free from the darkness that had plagued it for so long, looked serene, quiet, almost too quiet. The life she had once feared was now the life she longed for. Behind her, Evelyn was sorting through some old books, her movements slower than they used to be, but her eyes, when they met Amelia's, were full of gratitude. For the first time in years, the two of them sat in silence, side by side. The things left unsaid between them were finally being forgiven. "You're going to stay, right?" Amelia asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. It was a simple question, but the weight of it was immense. Evelyn paused and glanced at her daughter. "I think I'm ready to stay here. You've given me a reason to believe in something again." The two women exchanged a long, meaningful look. The past was never going to be forgotten, but Amelia knew that her mother was finally ready to face the future. They both were. And for the first time, Amelia felt truly at peace. There was a sense of completeness she hadn't known she was missing. Later that evening, Amelia and Liam walked along the shore, the last remnants of sunlight casting a soft, golden hue across the waves. The town, the chapel, the altar. They were all behind them now, tucked away in the dark corners of history. But the bond that had been forged between them during the trials was something that would never fade. "It's strange," Amelia said, her voice quiet as they walked hand in hand along the beach. "I thought I'd never be able to call this place home again, but now it feels like the beginning of something new." Liam squeezed her hand, his eyes warm with affection. "It's not the place that makes it home. It's the people. And I think Willowbrook might just have a future after all." Amelia looked out over the water, her heart swelling. "We have a future too, don't we?" Liam stopped walking, turning her to face him. His green eyes shone with sincerity, and his smile was more than just a smile. It was a promise. "We do," he said, gently tucking a loose strand of her hair behind her ear. "Together." In that moment, Amelia felt something shift inside her. There was no more fear, no more shadows, just a new beginning, and she knew, deep down, that whatever came next, whatever challenges they faced, they would face it as partners, as equals, as more than just the people who broke Willowbrook's curse. They would be the ones who helped rebuild it. As the sun sank lower on the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Amelia and Liam stood there, hand in hand, watching the world change around them. Their world was no longer defined by fear or darkness. It was a world full of possibility, and they would embrace it together. The end. Whispers Between Shadows, Table of Contents. Chapter 1, Return to the Past. Amelia returns to her hometown of Willowbrook after years of avoiding it, reconnecting with her mother and old friends. A mysterious journalist, Liam, approaches her with questions about the town's past. Chapter 2, The Secrets of Willowbrook. Amelia learns that Liam is investigating a series of disappearances that have plagued Willowbrook for years. She discovers that her family might be involved in something much darker. Chapter 3, Unearthing the Truth. Amelia and Liam dig deeper into the town's history, uncovering more disturbing truths. Amelia starts to question her family's role in the town's mysteries. Chapter 4, Shadows of the Past. Amelia confronts her mother about the hidden history of their family in Willowbrook. She begins to realize the depth of the secrets her mother has kept from her. Chapter 5, A Hidden Journal. Amelia discovers her mother's journal, which holds cryptic entries about a pact made generations ago. The truth begins to unravel, revealing connections to the mysterious disappearances. Chapter 6, The First Clue. Amelia and Liam continue their investigation, visiting old town archives and interviewing residents. The connection between the disappearances and Amelia's family becomes clearer. Chapter 7, The Unraveling. As they uncover more clues, the mystery deepens. Amelia and Liam's bond grows